So now I'm going to read, here's a press release that will let the province know why New Brunswick is rising. Human beings are exercising their freedom of expression, are doing so today at a great personal risk. They are facing ever more mistreatment and authoritarianism at the hands of a system that increasingly attempts to silence them. Media and government have misleadingly labeled people voicing their concerns under the banner of anti-masker. This has had the sole purpose of portraying them in a narrow caricature in order to shift the public resentment and blame onto them. It has the effect of vilifying opposition while increasing government approval. It is also destructive to democracy, communities, and human relationships. The people who increasingly voice their concerns are your neighbors and fellow New Brunswickers who are facing increasing hardship and suffering under unjustified government overreach and life-destroying rules. Your fellow human beings are speaking out do so for a multitude of reasons. Destroyed livelihoods and businesses, crushing of basic liberties, the rise of authoritarianism, the discrimination faced by people who have medical mask exemptions but are being treated like criminals and diseased, the restricting of breathing freely without scientific data to support it. And let me note, Bonnie Henry has stated that none of this is being supported by science.
That's right.
Look it up.
That's right. Good research.
The unfair treatment of rotational workers.
Yeah.
The discrimination faced by rotational workers whose communities unjustly fare them. The separation of families under COVID isolation rules. The imposition of mental health devastation by authoritarian policies. The unacceptable lack of data provided by government to justify all the measures. The lack of balance in journalism. That's why we have druthers. Gaslighting by government resulting in divided communities torn apart by blame. The physical and psychological damage imposed on our children by scientifically unjustified measures. The rise of the surveillance police state. The unquestioning push towards human experimentation with liability-free experimental vaccine. Liability-free, meaning something happens to you, they're not responsible. You're on your own. The censorship and punishment towards those using their freedom of expression to protest government abuse. The loss of democracy. Unelected bureaucrats dictating our lives. We did not elect them, yet they're ruling and controlling our lives.
That's right.
That's right, take our power back. Ignored collateral damage of COVID measures. The abuse of state of emergencies to dictate without public or scientific scrutiny. The use of coercion to push people into human experimentation. The ignoring of problematic COVID testing, false positives, and Jennifer Russell has stated there have been some false positives, but don't worry, they're going to fix it. The ignoring of true science, replacing with science-like activities. The intimidation of people in various professions from publicly disagreeing with the increasingly morally unjust rules. The rise of snitch society. The robbing of our children's childhoods. The increasing centralization of power, where people lose their voice over what happens to their communities. The ignored conflicts of interest present in the system. The destruction of normal human behavior. the use of fear, propaganda as a means to control people, the arbitrary punishment of protesters, the imposition of COVID house arrest on innocent citizens
And children, yeah.
and children, the imposition of ever-increasing rules with no end in sight, and mark my words, this will not stop until we all say no, enough is enough.
That's right. Yeah. In the U.S. that are open. Wake up, Canada.
Wake up, Canada. These are but a sample of various reasons people are speaking out, and as a society, it is our moral duty to let them voice the horrific consequences they live with. Every human being should be able to openly question the ethics of the system that controls them. Our country is being transformed, and we should have a say over what is being imposed against our will on us and our families.
Right.